Hello, everyone. Today I will be presenting on Black immigrants' perspective on the Black Lives Matter movement. My name is Shelby Pennix. I am a senior at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro, double majoring in sociology and African American and African Diaspora Studies. So, introduction. The objective of this research is to probe the opinions of African Americans, Afro-Caribbean descendants, and new continental African immigrants on the Black Lives Matter movement. Our findings suggest that while the majority of our respondents support the movement, there's no consensus on the role of Afro-Caribbeans and continental Africans within the movement. What is the Black Lives Matter movement? Black Lives Matter is a social movement that was founded by three Black women, Alicia Garza, Patrisse Cullors, and Opal Tometi. It's a social movement that was formed in response to the unjust killings of unarmed Black people in America in recent years. One of the most prominent cases involves Trayvon Martin. While these interviews were being conducted for this research study, one of the prominent cases around this time was the death of George Floyd. Something important to remember about the Black Lives Matter movement is that there is no formal hierarchy. There are some leaders, political leaders associated with the movement, but there is no centralized leadership around the movement. It's free-flowing. Methodology. So for this study, data was collected using qualitative methods, did in-depth interviews with a semi-structured interview schedule. Some of the questions we asked were about experiences of discrimination by people outside of your Black ethnic group. Would you marry someone outside of your Black ethnic group? Questions like that. Due to COVID, interviews were conducted through virtual meeting websites such as Zoom or Google Meet. We took the data from the interviews, transcribed them, and coded them into a spreadsheet divided by ethnic group and the question that was asked. Data. So we had 6 participants for African American, 6 for Afro-Caribbeans, and 5 for continental Africans, for a total of 17. We had an average age of 20.2 for African Americans, 21.4 for Afro-Caribbeans, and 24.75 for continental Africans, with an average age of 21.92. So this study was focused around younger Black folks. So now we're into our results. For African Americans, there's overwhelming support. All participants supported the movement and participated in the movement in some capacity, whether it be in person or online. We have a quote from a 21-year-old participant who said, "Our people are bringing in other people from the diaspora into the conversation. I saw a thread of Afro-Latino, Afro-Caribbean people who had died by the hands of police brutality." Afro-Caribbeans, the majority of Afro-Caribbeans support the movement. We had one participant who completely did not identify with the movement or its purpose and wanted nothing to do with it. Other than that, we had majority support. And most of them participated either online or in person. A 24-year-old participant stated, "I think we all should be protesting. It's not an exclusive issue that just happens to African Americans, but it could be any of us, our children, our families." Continental Africans, so all continental Africans support the movement. Among participants, they mentioned George Floyd and how his death had an immense impact on them and inspired them to take action. So all participants participated. A 25-year-old participant stated, "I think our role is whatever the African Americans want us to do. It's their movement. I don't feel like we should intrude." That leads us into our discussion. Why is the Black Lives Matter seen as an African American movement? Black Lives Matter originated in the African American community and it's even seen as an extension of the civil rights movement. It's largely backed and supported by the African American community. Among continental African and Afro-Caribbean participants, in regards to police brutality and the purpose of the Black Lives Matter movement, they feel like police brutality is the main issue the Black Lives Matter movement is fighting against, and they feel like police brutality is more prevalent in the African American community. So while they stand in solidarity with the movement, they also don't identify with it as an issue that is plaguing their community. So they see it as an African American issue. Why is there confusion surrounding the intended purpose of the movement? So some of the slogans associated with the movement can kind of cloud the intended purpose. We see defund the police, ACAB, which means all cops are bastards. These are slogans that we saw over the summer of 2020 with the death of George Floyd. Also, the media's focus on rooting and riot and looting, and that can confuse people as well. Limitations and future recommendations. So we had a 12:5 ratio of men to women. And the study was also conducted under COVID, which disproportionately affected the Black community. So future recommendations, replicating the study at a larger scale, including older generations of Afro-Caribbeans, African Americans, and continental Africans, and seeing if the feelings and sentiments are the same across generations. Thank you.